Britain.
I think it was Socrates that said, and actually it was Plato, that the artist is positively useless because he can't explain how he does what he does. Therefore, why should anybody take any notice of what his subject matter is? Because if he can't even explain how he does what he does, why should we put any faith in his actual statements when they do come out? And that really makes me feel inadequate, because I haven't a clue how or what I do. I don't know what I do. I don't know what I do. I just know I enjoy it.
Few artists are as prolific as David Bowie or as successful. He has a body of work which spans over 25 years, and he has fans who can recite to you everything he's ever done on record and in film. In the early days, David Bowie said he created personas to disguise his shyness. Aladdin Sane, Ziggy Stardust, the Thin White Duke. And then David stepped out from behind the characters and began to reveal more and more of himself. Our interview in Los Angeles to talk about his new album, his first solo album in 6 years, was for me a pleasure. I talked to David last year when he was touring with Tin Machine, but this time we talked for nearly an hour. Face to face, David Bowie is charismatic, eloquent, yes, even charming. And now that he's 45 years old, recently married, creating music on his own and with Tin Machine, I can also say that David Bowie is a very happy man.
Just run the track, John, and get the sound as you go.
The title, Black Tie, White Noise, actually has some deeper philosophical or social implications, doesn't it?
It was, I mean, it was nothing more than a sort of rather silly wordplay. I mean, as always, I don't see a straight, clear-cut answer to anything in life, and I guess I wanted to, even though the album fundamentally came from a fount of my own feelings and personal experiences over the last 2 or 3 years, I don't think that I had a real black and white take on everything that had happened. It was nothing is crystal clear to me at the best of times. And these are, for me, the best of times. But things are still quite murky. I wanted a title, and indeed it came up with a song that I wrote around the theme of Black Tie, White Noise that reflected that. So for me, it's a long way of saying it reflects, the fact of my marriage. It reflects the positive and negative thoughts that I have about relationships. Also reflects my own black ties to rhythm and blues music, and what I perceive as what I put on top of it, the white noise. So it you know, it's a combination of those kinds of plays on the title, and it kind of summed up, I thought, pretty accurately what the album sounded like to me. There.
They say, hey, that's really something. Think you should get some time. I say, you should cut his ass, my friend. Don't listen to the crowd. They say, jump.
I'm a real workaholic, and it hadn't really dawned onto me to what extent I took so much time out of the day, committed to whatever project I was on, and it became a process over the first year or so, as trying to balance my life in terms of, well, how many of these very precious moments am I willing to give away at my age, 45? That, you know, do I want to keep on inundating myself with one work project after another and sort of leave virtually no room for a real solid, wonderful relationship to start flowering or blooming? Bloom, bloom. It's all been to do with some kind of basis, a foundation of what we felt we shared in common, and that became the starting point. And for both myself and Imam, she'd achieved a great success in her own profession. We both travelled an awful lot to lots of the same places. We had certain friends that we had mutually in common, We both had ex-marriages. We both had children. There were a lot of fundamentals right there from the beginning that sort of really gave us a platform, I guess. Anyway, I fell in love with her. If you're lucky enough, like myself, to be in a profession that really was a chosen profession, and that was something that ever since youth had been the only thing that I wanted to be involved, well, other than maybe painting, the only thing that I wanted to be involved with. It really is a luxury, and there's a deep sense of fulfillment when something artistically really works, and you've shocked yourself, you've surprised yourself, which for me is really a priority in working and writing and recording. That if this kind of magic electric spark happens, then I feel that's been a really good day.
When David and I talk, half of the time we get in these elaborate discussions about just different musical cultures and different sources of the music, different origins of the music, before we even do anything. And because of his broad musical background and the type and the taste that he has, I know that it's going to be very, very exciting for me as a musician, but at the same time that there is a point of view. I mean, we are going someplace.
Yeah, we could get a better second half.
Put on your red shoes and dance the blues to the song they're playing on the radio.
David really wanted to be commercial. I mean, he said, look, you know, I want to get a smash. I really do. I want to get a hit record. And it was a little bit shocking to me because I said, wow, you know, David, I mean, let's just make a great record, and if it sells, it sells. If it doesn't, it doesn't. He says, no, that's what I always say. I really want a record that's on the radio and that people buy and that people like.
I had all this sort of manic success with, oh yeah, let's dance one more time. And it sort of floored me for a while there, and it threw me right off course, much more. I mean, I was surprised myself how far it threw me off. And the trouble is, coming out of it the other end, I look back at the 2 albums that I did subsequently, and it annoys me to the very core how I threw away some really good songs. Because there's some excellent songs on those 2 albums, but I always felt that I really gave them away. I let other people do arrangements for them, which I should never have done. They did a very adequate job, more than adequate. A bit too adequate, in fact, sometimes. And it just didn't feel like me anymore.
You've always been good at collaboration. What is it about you that makes you a good collaborator?
I think I enjoy what I'm doing, and I enjoy watching other people enjoy it as well. I mean, that's something that really it's a real high. You know, you really feel as though you're contributing to somebody else's life if you can see that they have been really happily surprised with something that they've done.
Well, I'm just out of school, like I'm real cool. Gotta dance like a fool. Got the message that I gotta be a wild one. Ooh, yeah, I'm a wild one. Gonna break it loose, gonna keep on moving wild. Gonna keep us moving, baby, I'm a real wild child.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching him work with lyrics. The way he works with lyrics was quite extraordinary. It's still something I couldn't do. It works in a very different way to me, but...
I think of China Girl when you say
yeah, it's an extraordinary lyric, and it really was sort of thrown out when he was writing it. It was literally thrown out on the recording session, almost verbatim, and it changed maybe 3 or 4 lines. But it was an extraordinary talent that he has for spontaneous free thought.
While I surely gonna make me blind. While it's going down to my toes. While I go going up, goodness knows. Oh, white light.
I really feel he's becoming a great observer of New York society, even more deeply than he was before. I like his new work a lot. Like all of us, he had a kind of a floppy time. Things went sort of floppy. And,
Which was your floppy time?
my floppy time. My last floppy time was between 84 and about 84 to 88. I think those 4 years I found decidedly floppy.
Baby universe, baby universe, baby universe.
What it's done is really polarized my writing in as much that there is nothing on the present solo album that I could possibly conceive of having done with Tin Machine. By virtue of that fact, of course, there's nothing that I do with Tin Machine that I could see doing as a solo artist. So at the moment, it works for me as an artist very well indeed.
You have a love-hate relationship with saxophone, don't you?
No, I love it. It hates me. Is that what I'm supposed to say?
I don't know.
Oh, well, there you are. I mean, I was struggling with the saxophone when I was a kid. I struggled in my early recording career, and then I started struggling again with Tin Machine, and now I really want to make that struggle very public. I want to see the agonies that one man can go through with a piece of brass. It's really something to be seen, to be believed.
Now that it's 1993, what would be the most provocative thing that you could say?
Oh, I don't think I would look for anything provocative. I think my walking tightropes and possibly putting myself through areas of psychic and emotional destruction are long over. I'm pulling my life together in a fairly substantial and successful manner, and I think I'm quite happy with that situation.
For David Bowie, that is provocative.
I guess it is. Well, I got a new suit. Is that really pushing the envelope?